We'll start in just a few minutes. And the other class has ended. Alright. Where is everyone? Only 3 people viewing. You steal. Where's everyone else? Who else is here? Send a message to the chat so I know you're here. I can't take attendance any other way. Once you are in, send a message to the chat with your name. Daniel is here. There's a pretty big lag. So I think you only hear what I'm saying like maybe 20, maybe even 30 seconds after I say it. So it's just going to be that way. It'll be late reactions to any messages that you said. Yes, you still, I know you are there. I'm fine, thank you. And you? Who else is here? We got 8 people watching. Gotta know who's there. Who's there, students? I can't see your names. Alright, June is there. Good. Who else is there? Geo is there. Hi, Geo. June. Shiwon. Who's Shiwon? Kwangil. Oh, I know who Kwangil is. Let's go. Hyunjung. Hi, Amy. Who is Shiwon? Do I know Shiwon? Sean. Ah, Sean. Jin. Do you know Sean? Right? Am I tired? Do I look tired? What are you saying? What are you saying, Kevin? Who else? How many people do we have here? 8 people on this stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, yeah, I think everyone's here. Alright. Oh, now we got 9 people watching. Oh. And here. Yes, I know. Once you said Sean, then I knew who you were. I didn't know your Korean name. I look very tired. Oh, I don't know. The world is tiring. Alright, so I think, no, now we have 10 viewers, so I think someone new is here. Who else is here? Who else is here? Oh, Anthony Ant. Do people really call you Ant, Anthony? Yes, yes, yes. Did you watch it, Sean? Did you watch the musical? Alright. I think this might be everyone. Who else might be... Who else might we be waiting for? Maybe Marie? Marie going to be on here. Anyone else? This lag is really slow. I think you really hear me like 30 seconds or more after I talk. That's unfortunate. Whoa. Anyway. How are you all doing? Having a good time? Good time with no school, staying healthy, wearing a mask, all these sorts of things. Enjoying the weather, it's almost spring. Creating a story map. There it is. Good time. Since the conflict develops a plot and events. That's obvious. Boring, Kevin. Why are you bored? I would love to have that free time. There's so much stuff you can do. Read some books, watch some movies, talk to friends on the phone, write some stories, play some music. So many things to do. What book should we make? Everybody, LAT book. LAT pay, not pays yet. Grade 6, LAT. Okay, take this book out. This is what we're going to be focusing on today. We have like 3 or 4 different classes all together here, so we're mostly going to be focusing on LAT. Okay, we're going to do some writing, things like that. Some people logged off the stream. Who's not here? We're down to 6 viewers. Dot. Okay. Everyone ready? Up to 7. Oh, some people like logged out. Why doesn't people log out of the stream? No writing, please? Sorry, you steal. Lots of writing. Writing's important. Writing's very important. And we can't do speaking because I can't hear you when you're talking. It's like the opposite of speaking class. It's kind of strange. Like, the room is so quiet, I can't hear your voices. It's like kind of weird. I feel like I'm like doing YouTube streaming. Press like and subscribe. I'm doing like a mukbang. English class ASMR. I'm gonna teach the whole class just like this. Alright, so I think everyone's back here. Okay, everyone's back on the stream. Good. We can talk about the story map then. Marie is here. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the delay is pretty long. So we just have to get used to that. I'm gonna reply to things a little bit late. Okay. Maybe we can start. Maybe we can start with our writing. That's a good idea. Respond to literature. Is super chat. What is super chat? I don't even know what super chat is. Bees later? What does that mean? I've never heard of super chat. Oh, you don't want to do writing. Too bad. It's really important. Okay. Let's talk about dialogue first, okay? Let's start with dialogue. Switch it over. Okay. You can see here, here's your LAT book. LAT page 9. Can everybody hear me well? Please confirm that you can hear my voice. I have no idea of knowing otherwise because I can't see you and I can't hear your voice. It's very like one directional. I know the delay is so annoying. LAT page 9. I think the delay is really long. Okay. Good, you can hear me. Good. Glad people can hear me. LAT page 9. We're going to talk about dialogue. Talk about dialogue. Now, everybody on this page, everybody should be on this page. I'm like waiting for people to answer. I have to wait like 30 seconds before I get a response, so I shouldn't wait. I should just keep going. Alright, so writing dialogue. Dialogue is a really important part of story. Dialogue, as you all know, since this is G6, dialogue is people talking. Obviously a very important part of writing for a few different reasons. One reason is that we learn a lot about characters from dialogue. Not just what they say, but how they say it. Right? I don't talk the same way that my mom talks. We use different words. We use different phrases. Maybe some people talk in short sentences. Some people talk in long sentences. Some people use different kinds of slang. It helps us understand the character's kind of cultural background, where they come from, or their personality. We can understand a lot of tone through dialogue. What do they think about things? Now, I was talking to Rooster Class actually just the other week. I felt like it was just the other week, but it actually maybe like 2 weeks ago. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see. We're going to talk about characters now. Right. Talk a little bit about characters. Reflections would be bad, so I should write. Okay. Talking about characters, there are a few different ways to know characters, right? Knowing characters, okay? We can know characters from a description. Right? the narrator can describe the character. The narrator can say, like, I don't know who the character is. The narrator can say that we're talking about my brother. My brother is tall and has black hair and something something, right? They can describe a personality, say he's kind of quiet, and doesn't get angry easily, things like this, right? Description, we can trust the narrator, right? This is kind of the weakest way of knowing a character because it's based on, what is this? Because this is based on trusting the narrator, right? We don't see it for ourselves. Anthony, what are you doing? Okay. Another way of knowing characters can be from what the characters do. What the character does. Their actions show us who they are. Actions speak louder than words. If they do nice things, we can assume they are a nice character. If they do selfish things, we can assume they're a selfish character. If they do greedy things, we assume they're greedy, right? They get angry quickly in the story. We know they get angry quickly in their personality. We judge characters from what they do. The next big one is what the character says. Right? This is very important. What somebody says can really know a lot about somebody. This is why dialogue is so important in stories. When we look at the way that people talk, we can understand, are they speaking with respect? Or are they speaking in kind of a rude way? Right? These sorts of things reveal a lot about the character. Okay? And then last, what characters say about each other. What? Okay. This is again kind of like the narrator. You're trusting a character. We don't really know. Are they telling the truth? Are they speaking from experience? Do they not like this character? Do they like this character? We can't really trust it exactly. But dialogue is a really important part of telling a story. It adds so much to the story and makes it a much richer story because it adds depth and personality. It adds the kind of experience that we have from listening to other people talk. We can know right away what the character is like. So it's really important. Some stories are written with very bad dialogue. It doesn't sound like the way that real people talk, and it makes it really hard to read. It makes it really no fun to read. Some stories have very realistic and fun, very silly dialogue or clever dialogue, and then those stories can be really fun to read. When you're writing dialogue, you should be thinking about not just what's realistic, we should also be thinking about like what is realistic to the reader. What kind of tone do people speak in? Right? If you have two different characters, they shouldn't speak in exactly the same way. Right? So we have here, right, the words that they say aloud. Choose words that are natural to the characters. You don't want to have like a 5-year-old child using like really long scientific language. That would be very silly, unless that's part of the story. It's like a 5-year-old like science genius, and I guess that makes sense. Can show personalities and move the plot action along. Can help us understand the story more in general. Okay. Right, we can see right here, we just have 2 lines of dialogue. We understand a lot about the characters. Okay, boys, said Grandpa cheerfully. Don't forget to put out your fire. I'll just take this leftover food into the house. Don't want to attract any bears. Good night, Grandpa. Matt called out. Andy waved but said nothing. He was worried. Okay. Here we can see just these 2 short little lines. We know a lot about these characters. Grandpa cheerfully, of course. But we also see here just okay, boys. We can see that we can see this is already cheerful. This is kind of playful. Don't forget to put out your fire. This is kind of spoken in a way that's like authority. Someone older spoken to someone younger, telling them what to do. I'll just take this leftover food into the house. This is casual. I'll just take. Not I'll take this leftover food, but I'll just take. So it sounds casual. Don't want to attract any bears. Again, this is kind of like a very casual, maybe southern, we say kind of like countryside way of speaking. It's very kind of casual slang way. So by reading this dialogue, we already know so much about Grandpa and what he's like, okay? And we understand all these sorts of different things. And then here, we can see Matt just says a little bit. Good night, Grandpa. Matt seems to be someone who doesn't talk very much, or doesn't express himself very much. Andy waved but said nothing. Andy expresses himself even less. Maybe we can know a little bit about their emotions here. How are they feeling? They must not be feeling very cheerful like Grandpa is. So something is going on here. He was worried. That seems obvious. He's worried. That kind of explains itself here, right? This sort of dialogue can really show so much depth into this story. And you should be thinking about that not just while you're writing and thinking about writing dialogue that contains depth and lots of information in it, but also reading, trying to understand what's going on in the characters, what's happening there. Okay? These sorts of things are very important, dialogue and writing description. So this is what we're focusing on at first. Okay. So this thing here too, like vivid, precise words and unique imagery. Right? As we read stories and write stories, we should be thinking about these things. We want our stories to have these sort of. Oh wait, you're looking at me. I thought you were looking at this. I'm pointing at this. Writing description. Okay. Vivid, precise words and unique imagery. As the boy sat by the fire, darkness crept over the field and fireflies twinkled like stars. The boys toasted marshmallows and then went to bed. But Andy's mind raced. He wondered if mountain lions or bears lived in these woods. Andy listened closely to every noise. An owl hooted, crickets chirped, and frogs croaked in rhythm. Andy heard a rustling close by and a crackling of twigs. He was instantly wide awake. Something was walking in the campground. But what was it? Okay, we have here a lot of different things. We have some personification, we have some imagery, these different ideas that make the writing more rich, make the writing more clear, descriptive here, right? I really like this darkness crept. This is personification. Crept is like creep. It's like walk very slowly. Darkness walked very slowly over the field, right? It's subtle, but it gives us a feeling, right? This kind of specific things. We don't just say, as the boy sat by the fire, the field became dark, right? That's not vivid and precise. We want vivid and precise. Fireflies twinkled like stars. Here we have simile. Toasted marshmallows and went to bed, right? Toasted, not just cooked marshmallows, right? Toasted, specific. And his mind raced. Not just he was thinking, his mind raced. It gives us a feeling, right? Very nervous. Okay. Owl hooted, right? Specific language. Crickets chirped, frogs croaked, a rustling sound, crackling of twigs, right? This kind of descriptive imagery of sound, right? Very useful. Okay. It's not brilliant, but it's specific and it's good enough. We can feel it. We can understand what's happening here. Okay. So, oh, there's more about this. We just read that. Obvious. Okay. Now, oh, where are we? Where's our writing? Here. Fictional narrative. Today we're working on fiction, which is my favorite thing to write. I love writing fiction, and I hope that you will love writing fiction too. I know you're kind of being negative about it, but writing fiction is fun. I think it's fun, it's creative, and I want to see creativity from you. Okay. Here we have a sample prompt. We're going to take this prompt here. Everyone has fears about facing some experiences. For example, many people are afraid of speaking or performing in front of a group. That's just an example. Think about the experience that you fear most. What are you scared of? This page. LAT 12. Alright, LAT 12. Did I skip a page? 11, 12. LAT 12. Okay. Think about what do you fear most? What are you most scared of? And then you want to write a narrative, a story about a fictional experience about you having fear, this fear, and how it affects you, right? So your story should be about you experiencing something, either your fear or something related to the fear, to explain it, okay? So here we analyze the prompt. What is the topic of the prompt? We know that that's just fear. More specifically, what about fear? What do you fear most? Okay, and we want a specific fictional experience about your fear and how it affects you or the main character. It can be someone else. Okay, pre-write, draft, rewrite. Okay, first, I want a little bit of interaction in the group. Everybody in the chat, write down your answer to this. What is the experience that you fear most? Write that down in the chat. Okay, what do you fear most? What experience? Note that experience is not thing. Don't say I am most scared of spiders. Say I am most scared of being eaten by spiders, or being tied up in a web by spiders, or swimming in a pool of spiders. Something that's an experience, not just a thing. Okay, everybody say that in the chat. Okay, everyone write it in. Write it in, write it in. Anthony. Anthony, I don't believe you. You need something a little scarier than that. That's not that scary. I was being ignored in front of class while I was giving a speech. Ooh, that's a bad experience, yes. We're talking about fears, probably, though. Things that haven't happened, right? Well, maybe it can happen. Okay. We want generalized, though. Okay, when Michelle talks about the test, I don't think that's the experience that you fear most. I know you're being silly, but let's be a little bit more serious. Very serious. Yeah, being ignored in front of the class while giving a speech, that could be a fear. That could definitely be a fear about being ignored while giving a speech. Public speaking or it's good. Okay, so think about that experience. Think about how do you feel there. I'm still waiting for like 7 other people. What do you feel? Ooh, Daniel fell down on the stage. Ah, so that kind of like public embarrassment, like being scared, or like not being scared of like embarrassment in front of people. Something happens in front of a lot of people. You make a mistake in front of people. Oh, lots of people seem to have this, making mistakes in front of other people. Worst experience, the scariest thing. One time when I was in college, I fell asleep in my class. It was really embarrassing. I fell asleep in class, and the professor, there were like 200 students in the class. It was a really big classroom, and the professor came up and took a picture of me, and then put my picture on like every like PowerPoint slide for the rest of the year. Like the PowerPoint slide with my face, and like used me in examples of questions and stuff like that. Didn't study but 2 days before. Ah, worst fear, not being prepared for a school exam. Good. Yeah, that's scary too. Felt fear when I watched a scary movie. Yes, I hate scary movies. I saw a really scary one a couple weeks ago. was called Midsummer. It was really scary, but it was weird because most scary movies are really dark and shadows and stuff like that. This one was very bright and sunny, but really scary. It's kind of strange. These are your biggest fears, though? I think we can come up with some, like, worst fears. Gio giving a speech. Yes, that makes sense. Giving a speech can be very scary. I used to be really scared of giving speeches. I used to be really scared of giving speeches, but I practiced and practiced, and I signed up for doing speeches. I made myself do a lot of speeches, and I got a lot better. I got a lot better at doing speeches. Riding the elevator after watching horror movies, yeah, that's pretty bad. Or like when you're home alone, like the kitchen, and then like something like falls off the table, like by itself after watching a scary movie. It's terrible. Okay, so we'll have some ideas. Okay, what I want you to do now is we're gonna try to do some writing. We're gonna take this scary experience. We'll go back to this narrative. Let me switch this. Okay. So here, this one here, write a narrative about a fictional experience involving your fear and how it affected the main character. Okay, so narrative, you're writing a story about a fictional experience, something that didn't happen, right? You're making a story about something that didn't happen, about this thing that you're very scared about. Okay, so think of that. What can you do? Okay. So start writing that narrative. Most important here, as you're writing this narrative, I want you to have, well, where did that come from? Dialogue and details. Okay? Dialogue, or not details, here, dialogue and description. Okay? I want you to have really clear dialogue and description when you're writing your fiction. Okay? Kind of rhymes. Dialogue and description while writing your fiction. Make sure that your dialogue shows the characters. It can show the characters' personalities. It can show their emotions. Make sure your dialogue isn't just taking up space. Make sure it's really showing the characters and we're understanding the story. Okay. In our description, this is really important that you use clear, vivid, precise words, unique imagery, right? This kind of imagery and similes and personification, metaphors, right? The really clear imagery. Think about the 5 senses. I want you to at least use imagery for 3 senses. Okay? Really be clear about that. Okay? Use precise words. Don't just say it's dark. Tell me more. Are we being a main character? I assumed so, but maybe you don't have to. It just says here, and how it affected the main character. I guess it doesn't have to be about you. It can be about somebody else. You don't have to be the main character. It can be about somebody else, but it has to be about a fear, a really big fear. Okay, something really scary is happening. We're writing horror stories. You can be the main character, Kevin, yes, but you don't have to be. We're writing horror stories, okay? Alright, so let's do writing. What time is it? 10:12? Okay, I want you to do some writing, then I want you to share it with me. But we'll do writing until 8:30. Are we writing the chats? The chats have a 200 character limit, so actually we can't write it. Wow. I want to see what you're writing, but it won't fit in the chat. Do you guys have email? Oh, you don't have email? Hey. How else can you send it? If Daniel doesn't have email. Daniel, what do you have? Daniel, how can you send it to me? Everyone else has email. Okay, so I guess Daniel's the only one without email. Everybody else has email. Alright. Oh, Daniel does have an email. Okay. So maybe you can email your writing to me. Okay. Let's write. Okay. Let's write until 8:30 for now. Okay. Let's write until 8:30 for now. Email what you have to gmail.com. Okay. Okay. Let's really focus on your focus on vivid, precise imagery in your descriptions, as well as we say revealing dialogue, or meaningful dialogue that shows characters, personality, or personalities and emotions. Okay. If you have any questions, send it to the chat. Okay. The story should become with only dialogue? No, not only dialogue. No. Because you have to have description also. Description, dialogue, plot. Has to have everything. Okay, I don't expect you to finish by 8:30. I want you to have a start though. I want you to remember we often talk about stories. The beginning of the story, we want to introduce the characters, the setting, kind of the situation, things like this. You can introduce the conflict at the beginning. I want you to have at least this kind of opening scene finished by 8:30. Okay? Not only dialogue. You should have dialogue, also have description and plot, right? Well, it can be part of the plot. Dialogue can be part of the plot, but not just dialogue. So make sure we can understand the characters, right? That's part of what we're focusing on today. To really understand what the characters are like. I should really feel their personality in your story. Understand their emotions in this situation. Everyone's writing going well? Some good dialogue, good descriptions, good setting and problem, characters, nice introduction, exposition. When you have the opening finished, you can send it to me. I'll take a look. And maybe I'll show it. I'll show it in front of the chat. Are you nervous about showing in front of the class? I won't show everybody's. So maybe if something's really good or something like that, then maybe I'll show it. Otherwise, I don't think it's very useful to show it for everybody's. That's too much. I want to give feedback so that we can fix it up a little bit. So we can improve it, make it better. Okay, so when you finish with it, then send it an email. Then we'll have break time. Break time from 8:30 to 8:40. Where is my program? Break time 8:30 to 8:40. Now present the name of that. That's alright. Alright, sure. Do you send it to me? Send it to me and take your break. Anyone's essays. Alright. Send them in, send them in, send them in. You don't know how to send an email, Daniel? I don't know. You don't have email? What do we do? What do we do? Hmm. Mm. Oh, Anthony, I can't open yours. Oh, you can't send it in HWP. Amy, you don't have to put a name on the email. You can just send it without a title, or you can just write G6. You can write your name on it. You can do anything. Doesn't matter. Up to you. Okay, have your break time. You guys are having break late. We can have break time until 45, I guess. Alright. Break time. Take your break. It's my mukbang. Yes. ASMR. Yeah, Gino, I got yours. Yes, you steal. This is just the beginning. You steal. It can be short. Nice stories. All right, everyone back. Hello. Just a second. All right. All right, everyone, back to class. Break time's over. Tell me that you're here. Say hello in the chat so I know you're here. All right. I'm reading your stories. All right. Nice stories. Some are very short, some are a little bit longer. With some introductions to our stories. Oof. Some of them are scary. Okay. So let's check. Everyone's here. Oof, I just got okay. Okay, someone hello. Here, back. Hello. Hell. Oh. All. What is all? Hello. Okay, is this everyone? Is this everyone? Are we missing anyone? All right, I think everyone. Good. All right, so I read your stories. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Let me turn this so I can see what's happening. I read your stories, and they look pretty good. You guys are always good. What I mean is that we have a little bit of work to do. Okay. Specifically on this description, and we talked here about description. Let me switch this so you see what I'm looking at. Remember, we were talking about description today. We need to add a lot more description, right? We're at the perfect place. This is exactly what we need. Our description and details, okay? So I read almost everyone's story. Actually, Sean, did you see my email back? Did you get that? That I couldn't open the file of your story. This, it's the normal file in Korean, the HWP files. My computer actually can't open it. So you have to send it again. Just copy the text into the email instead of sending it as a file. Anyway, here we're talking about the description. Right, this kind of description, precise, vivid words, imagery. We really need to put more of this in. Some of you put 1 or 2 words in. That was nice. I like some of that. This is great. But I need some more description. I need you guys to really be clearer with precise words about what's happening. I read your stories. I don't really have a feeling of setting. I don't really feel where your stories are taking place, right? I read it and you say maybe a school, a classroom, a house, but I don't really know what kind of house, what is your school like? What is your classroom like? Like, I really want description of the setting. I really want you to tell me, oh, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? All these different things, okay? I really want to feel it. If you say you're in a house, I don't know if your house is very small and warm, it has carpet and wood, or if it's very cold and it's glass and steel and it's big, if it's brightly lit or if it's dark, right? I don't really feel it if you just say in a house. I need to know what to feel, what to see when I'm imagining myself in this story. So you have to give me all these sorts of clues about what is the character seeing and hearing, all these sorts of different things, okay? You really have to include that in the story, those kinds of description. Another thing here that we need is description. Okay, set again. Just a second. All right, Sean, I got it. Oof. Nice. All right. Good, good, good. Okay. We need. Oh, nice. Okay. Sean, you have some good description of emotion. I like that in your last paragraph. I like that description of emotion. It feels very real. So, but overall, everyone, we need some more description of like setting. We really have a hard time with vivid, clear description of settings. I want to feel where we are. Things like this. I want to hear and see, feel what is around the character. Otherwise, it can be kind of just kind of bland, confusing. Okay, we really have to put lots of description in. The other thing here, dialogue. I think most of you put dialogue in your stories, as I asked. But the dialogue doesn't always show a lot, right? You tell the dialogue and then you say how they feel. One of the most important rules of writing is often seen as like the number one rule of writing. We say is, where's my marker? The rule is not, where's my marker? Where's my marker? So as we say, this is show, don't tell. And I teach this every time I'm teaching writing. This is really important. I always talk about show, don't tell. Okay, don't tell me that the character is happy. Tell me that the character smiled. Show me that the character is happy, right? Don't tell me the character is sad. Show me the character is sad. What do you do when you're sad, right? Like, he looked out the window into the distance without any expression, right? It gives us a particular kind of sad. Like, that's a different sad from cry with tears running down your face. There are different kinds of sad that we show in our story with actions and with dialogue, right? If somebody is nervous, this is one of my favorite examples. Okay, somebody's nervous, you don't say, think of a name. Yeah, I'll use myself. Declan was nervous. Okay? That's all it says. Declan was nervous. Doesn't really, we don't really feel that. I don't feel that when I read that. I don't really identify with this character. You see, instead, Declan's knees, not paying attention, knees shook while he gave the speech. Right? Now we're kind of showing that I'm nervous, right? You don't have to say then that Declan was nervous, because you read this and you know that Declan is nervous, right? You know what I mean? Don't show, tell. We can make it even stronger, right? We can say, Declan's palms were slick with sweat as he fumbled the microphone. Fumbled the microphone off the plastic table. Echoing silent room. Okay. Now here, we have it even clearer. I don't know if you, can you read that? Okay. So here we have just tell, no show. Declan was nervous, right? When we read that, it's like, okay, so what? Boring. Here, Declan's knees shook while he gave the speech. Now we kind of have that feeling like, I'm nervous, my knees are shaking. Now we read this and we say, okay, I've felt that before. I know what that looks like. You have imagery. I see that. I know what that feels like. Also, kind of feeling because it's happened to me before. Right? I read that and I was like, okay, I can kind of feel that. Right? Declan's palms were slick with sweat as he fumbled the microphone off the plastic table, bouncing it, echoing the microphone around the silent room. Now here we have kind of a full setting. We have the feeling, specific language like slick with sweat. It shows that you're nervous like that. Fumbled the microphone, like dropping something because you're nervous. That on the plastic table, we have some kind of imagery. What sound does it make when the microphone hits the table? And echoes around the silent room. We also have kind of a feeling of setting them. Okay, the microphone sound goes around the room, and the audience is completely quiet, which makes me feel like a specific kind of nervous. Everybody's watching me because they're quiet as I drop the microphone. Now, when we read this, we don't have to say that our character is nervous. There's no need to say that this character is nervous because we read this and we know the character is nervous, right? We show here through the action, through the description, through what is happening, we show that the character is nervous. This is a really, really important part of writing. Like this is no fun at all to read this. Right? This is no fun to read at all. This is not a story. This is not a setting. This is not a description. I don't even feel what kind of nervous is this. This is not the same kind of nervous. This could be nervous before taking a test. It could be nervous while waiting in line for a roller coaster. Like there's all different kinds of nervous that we feel. It's not specific. We don't really understand what this is, so I don't feel anything when I read it. Here I feel it a little bit, right? Because it's showing, so I kind of feel it a little bit. And here, this is kind of what we're looking for. We want to work towards this sort of writing where we're really showing the scene, we're really showing the emotions, the setting, the imagery, all these sorts of things in your writing. And when you get to that point, then you don't have to say things like this, or you shouldn't say things like anything like this. This is very boring. We want to have full descriptive writing like this, okay? I want to see more of that in your writing. Okay, for everybody. Now, we're trying to add more details here. That's what this next page is about. Everybody, LAT page 10. Go to LAT page 10. You will see all of these details here. This page is about adding details, and it's really important. A lot of students have trouble with adding details to their writing. So everybody go to LAT page 10. Alright. So here, I'll say it for you. Some story details intensify the action and create vivid mental pictures. Vivid means like very clear, you can see it very well. Try to find exactly the right word to report the action. Choose words that describe exactly how things look, sound, feel, taste, or smell. Imaginative comparisons can also add interest to your writing. Okay? So you want to elaborate by filling in details and expanding on ideas, right? Don't just tell me that my knees shook. Tell me more. Elaborate. Tell me more. How did the knees shake? Right? You could use a simile, all these sorts of things. Okay. Specific plot points to fill in the story logic. Right? We want to explain why do things happen in the story. That's very important. Oh, I thought I was showing you this. I'm not showing you this. LAT patient, right? Everybody's an LAT patient. Specific plot points to fill in the story logic, and add sensory details to clarify feelings and emotions, right? All these things are very important. We want the details, tell us more details and ideas. You guys tend to write really, really short stories. I want more details and ideas. Specific plot details, all right? Don't say general things. Be specific. Don't say I went to school. Say I took the bus to school. Say I took the crowded yellow bus to school. Not just I went to school, right? Specific plot details tell us about what's happening. Don't just say my friend disagreed with me. Use dialogue. What did my friend say when they were disagreeing with me? Did they say something mean, right? Did they say something that was like fake nice? It sounded nice, but it was actually mean. Things like that, right? We want to fill it in with specific plot details. And sensory details, we just talk about that, right? Things that we can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, etc. Those sorts of things. Really important. Now here we have some example, right? Here is our first, in the box we have our first writing. Okay. As the boys sat by the fire, darkness crept over the field and fireflies blinked. The boys toasted marshmallows and then went to bed. But Andy's mind raced. Okay. Here, right? This he went to bed. We can put some elaboration. It means putting more details in there, right? And then went to bed. They zipped themselves into their tents as they breathed in the cool summer night air. Andy heard Matt snoring and knew he was asleep, right? This is showing much more detail about this thing. They went to bed. We can't picture that. We don't really know. We don't really know what the situation is, where they're sleeping, what do they feel like. Here we kind of have a feeling. They zipped themselves into their tents. We have a kind of feeling of that. Breathe the cool summer night air. We have some feeling about the setting and how things feel. Andy heard Matt snoring and knew he was asleep. This is kind of double what you need, right? If Andy hears Matt snoring, we don't have to say he knew he was asleep because we know that Andy knows that Matt is asleep if Matt is snoring. Matt is snoring, Matt is asleep, right? It's a little bit extra here. But we do like this kind of elaboration where we can feel the setting, we can feel the action a lot more clear, okay? But Andy's mind raced. He wondered if mountain lions or bears lived in these woods. Andy listened carefully to every noise. An owl hooted, crickets chirped, and frogs croaked in rhythm. Then Andy heard a rustling close by and a crackling of twigs. Okay? And then specific plot details. The marshmallow bag. Andy must have left it outside. Andy shuddered at the thought. Okay, this must connect to the story somehow, right? This is Matt's fault that the marshmallow bag is outside, right? We have some exclamation, we have some feeling. Andy shuddered at the thought, right? We don't say how Andy feels, we show how Andy feels. And he shuddered, he shakes, right? He's scared or nervous, shuddered at the thought, right? It's not just a bag, it's a marshmallow bag, right? Specific things that happen. And a crackling of twigs. He was instantly wide awake. Something was walking in the campground, but what was it? Okay. Here we can make this more specific. We can feel more. What is he feeling? He's instantly wide awake. Every inch of him listened intently. It seemed as though he could hear through his skin, right? There's a simile here, as though he could hear through his skin, right? Every inch of him listened intently. There's some metaphor and some simile together right here, right? This gives us a feeling of how Andy is feeling. This sort of writing is very important. I want you guys to do this to your writing. Really, really important. Add more and more detail to your writing. All right, let's see. So, how about you guys write down these 3 things? Can you see this? These examples from the board on some paper, like notes. Write these down so that you can remember what to do in your homework, in your writing. So everybody write that down for notes. We have these 3 examples: bad, okay, good, right? Okay. This is bad. This is okay. And this is good. Okay. I don't want you guys writing like this. I want you to be. This is a little messy. I want you to write neater than me. But write like this. I want the full ideas, kind of description, these details, like a plastic table, fumbled, slick with sweat, show, don't tell, right? Everyone's still there? It's kind of strange. I can't see anyone, so I don't know if you're there. I'm gonna wait a little bit while you copy it down. Can everybody see it okay? I know there's like some light reflections. It's good to read your stories. I like this. Gio, I like this. Suddenly my feelings turn to gray. I like that writing. It's such a nice like metaphor. It's like I feel what that feels like. Gray feelings. That's good. Let's see. Can I read Daniel's? I feel fear when I go. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna read out loud. Daniel, this is not fiction. You have to write fiction. Daniel, you have to write fiction. That's not fiction. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, everybody copy down the notes. All right. We have some good descriptions here, but I would definitely like to have a lot more description, a lot more detail, a lot more. Again, okay. A lot more dialogue that shows how people feel. Okay. Specific descriptive language. Okay, I've read everyone's now. Looks good. It's decent, but so we need to have a lot more of this, a lot more description, elaboration, specific plot details, sensory details like this. Okay, really important. Let's see. We can talk about dialogue a little bit more. Where is the story here? Oh, we already read this. This is the same thing. It's the same one. Okay. We'll have to talk about dialogue later. Okay, so after you write the beginning of your story, some of you kind of wrote a whole story, but it's much too short. This is G6, so I kind of want a more full-length story. A full-length story with we have the whole building, the introduction, building the conflict into the climax, and then resolving it. Okay. It's really important here. You all see this. Developing conflict. We can't solve the problem too early in the story. Every story, as we know, has a problem. That's conflict. A story with no conflict is no fun. I say that all the time. More importantly than just a conflict, we want the reader to have questions. We want the reader to not be sure what's going to happen next. We want some we call tension or suspense. The reader has to have this feeling of what's going to happen next. I don't know what's going to happen next. I want to know what's going to happen next. And you have to be aware of this as you're writing. You have to think about this. This is your tool, is thinking, what is my reader thinking? You have to think. Writing is kind of like reading someone's mind. While you're writing, you have to be thinking, what is this person thinking? You already know the whole story because you're writing it, right? You're the author. You know everything that happens. You know how the story starts, how it's the middle, how it's going to end. But the reader doesn't. So you have to really think while you're writing, oh, how can I make this in a way that the reader will feel tension? What kind of information can I not give them? It's a common problem that a lot of my students do is to give too much plot information. Not enough description. There's not enough description about what things look like or feel like or how characters feel or how they talk. But telling what happens too early in the beginning, and then we kind of know what happens at the beginning. We know how the story is going to end, and then the second half of the story is not very fun. We want to give little information at the beginning about what's happening. Lots of description, lots of clues and hints, but not tell us what's actually happening or what's actually going to happen. We don't want to give it all away at the beginning because we want this tension. Okay, so we introduce the conflict at the beginning and we build it up step by step by step by step until there's no more options. We call the climax the point when the characters really have to face the problem, where we find that reader finds the answer to all the questions that they have. Okay, what's going to happen next? Okay. It's a really important skill to be able to make this. If you make your conflict just go straight up, really, really big, and then we kind of solve the problem, and then it's like this, that's no fun to read. We want this tension building, 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 building over time, okay, and then solving at the end. Now, let me think of an example. Can I think of an example? What's a story everybody here read? We're all in different classes, so I don't know what everybody read here. Trying to think of an example. Well, I don't think I need an example. I think you all generally understand. We just have to work on that. We have to make sure we're thinking about the reader. We're building suspense and building tension. Okay. So your homework is going to be. Oops. Where am I? Word. Homework. funny. Homework. Today is 2020-03-09. Homework. Finish your story of fear. I should story. Fictional narrative about a person and an experience you most fear. Okay? Okay. This is your homework. Make sure you write it completely. I want it to be really long. You have until Friday, and this is your only one homework assignment, so I want it to be a complete story. I want a complete story with a full plot, plenty of description and dialogue, and tension throughout the story. Okay? A full story. So, maybe like, well, I'm not going to tell you a word count, but maybe like 400 words, 500 words. Full story. Ugh, Anthony. Whining. Complain. Okay. Here's your story. Oh, the 400, 500. I was just thinking like about how many words you should write. It's not precise, but I'm gonna say, yeah, sure, maybe I'll give you that just so it's long enough. Um, let's say 400 words. 400 words or more. Okay. That's very conscientiously. What a good story. Okay. Any questions about your story? Questions about what you need to do? Anything? Any questions about what to do? Anybody want me to show their story to the whole class? Anybody want that? Anybody wants me to show their whole story, tell me. We can talk about someone's story. No one? Alright, everyone, write down your homework. Questions, let me know. Finish? What do you mean? Finish your story. Finish your fictional narrative. I'm so confused. I can drag my head around. No questions. No questions, no questions. Okay. Make sure your characters are really clear. I really want to feel your characters' personalities. Make sure your settings are really clear. I really want to be able to picture myself in the setting that you wrote. Okay. I have a hard time with that. I think almost all of your stories, the settings is not very clear. I don't really feel what it's like. You have to be a lot more descriptive. What is the setting like? You know, if it's school, it's an elevator, it's a classroom, at home. You really have to give me lots of different description about that. Okay? Describe your characters. Have the characters talk in ways that show what they're like. Okay? Give them emotions. Don't make all your characters the same. You should have different personalities so that we can feel it. We can understand how they talk to each other is different. Things like that. Okay? Lots of details. Remember what we were talking about here. Right? Lots of details. Lots of details. Remember, after you finish, maybe you won't have a full story. After you finish, then you have to do elaboration. Okay? Don't tell me more. Try to fill in some more about the story. Fill in more. Tell us more description about what's happening. Give us the similes and metaphors, the imagery, personification, all of these things. Give us the specific plot details. Tell us really specifically what's happening. Some of you just told us very general. You have a test. Well, what kind of test? What class is it in? Is it an English test, a math test, a science test, a driving test? Right? We really want to feel exactly, understand what the situation is. Don't just say my friend. Tell me, who is your friend? How does your friend talk to you? Does your friend talk to you the same way you talk to them? Is it different? Okay, what is your friend's personality like? Don't tell me what it's like. Show me what it's like. Okay? Sensory details. Okay, make sure you really explain to me. You really help me understand what's happening, how people are feeling, what things look like. Remember what I drew on the board. You all copy that down in your notes, right? You all copy that in your notes about all this stuff, right? All this stuff here. This is really important. I want you to write like this, not like this, not like this. I want you to write like this. Lots of details, lots of things that are happening. Show how the characters are feeling. Show what the setting is like. right? Don't just tell us, show us. Like the character should show us with their actions and the way they talk. Don't say this character was sad. Okay, never do that. Okay, show us that the character is sad. What does a character do if the character is sad? Okay, just show us in the story. Okay. All right. And then yeah, describing characters up here too. This stuff to remember. Okay. Think about all the different ways you can describe your character. Try to not do number 1. Don't do number 1. Try to do 2, 3, and 4. Show us what the character is like by what they do. Like, this is all about fear. It's about different ways of showing fear. That's why I did this example here. Right? How are some ways that characters show fear? Try to write your story without saying scared or fear, terrified. Try to not say those words, right? Instead, try to describe it. Describe how the character feels. Show us how the characters feel. When you're scared, what do you do? What do people do when they're scared? Show it. How do people talk differently when they're scared? Show us, right? All these sorts of things. Right. If there are no more questions, then I think we're pretty much at the end of the class then. Make sure you copy down your homework. Everybody wrote down the notes from the board. Make sure you write down your homework. Anything else for anyone? If there's nothing else, then that's the end. That's the end of class. Write down your homework, and then you can go. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Have a good week. I will see you, well, not see you, you will see me on Friday. Stay safe, stay healthy, eat healthy foods, wear a mask. Ask me if you have any questions about your story. Write good stories, fun stories. I think it's Friday same time. Friday same time, yep. Have a good week. Goodbye, goodbye.